So exactly a month ago, we were supposed to get Avengers the Kang Dynasty on the big screens, but well, we all know the story that folded next. Now, since I've recently partaken in this journey to create a fan poster for each of the upcoming Avengers films, today I just thought it would be a good idea to create a fan poster for Avengers the Kang Dynasty as a sort of what if scenario of what that poster could have looked like. I mean, to be fair, this wasn't even my idea. A lot of you guys requested it on my past few Avengers videos, so I just thought that would be like a good next step up. Now, as usual, after some research and experimenting, I came up with a nice concept or sketch for it, so without wasting any more time, let's just go ahead and break it down. First off, as always, we're gonna have the title of the movie in the bottom, then in the middle we're gonna have Kang's timeshare as a sort of placeholder for most of the main characters, and inside of Kang's timeshare there's gonna be the Avengers. At the top there's also gonna be some of the Kang variants with the main evil Kang in front, and around the poster there's also gonna be a few planets, and that's pretty much it. So now with all that on my mind, let's get cooking. Like my last two Avengers posters that I made, I started by obviously importing the title of the movie. I used my previous Secret Wars poster as a sort of reference to know exactly the right size and the placement for the logo. Then I did the same thing with the credits of the movie, which again used my previous Secret Wars poster as a reference. I also changed the color of the credits to blue to match that of its logo. Once the main important text was set in place, then it was obviously time to work on the actual poster. So I first started by importing this image of Kang's timeshare, which then I obviously removed the ugly background using the pen tool. Once I was done with that, I then started tracing the shape of the inside of the chair using the pen tool. And this was done so that all of the characters that I add later on stay inside of the chair and not outside of it, if that makes any sense. Next, it was obviously into adding all of the Avengers. Now, like my Secret Wars poster, I started by first making a composition to see how all of this will look like in the final result, and once I was done with that, we could finally move on to the next most important part, which was blending all of these characters. Now, another thing to keep in mind here is that since this is a movie that will never get to happen, well, for now at least, that just meant that I could add any character that I felt like. Obviously, since this movie was supposed to come out before the Fantastic Four and the Thunderbolts, that just meant that I didn't have to burden myself with adding those characters, which would also save me a lot of time. Once I was done with the Avengers, now I moved on to the big bad of the movie, Kang, or should I say Kangs, because I mean there's just so many variants of him. Anyway, as for the Kangs, since I could only find 4 variants of him, and since I wanted the main evil Kang from Quantumania to be in front, I had to add one more Kang variant in the left to sort of balance the whole thing. I mean, since we had 2 Kangs in the right and just one in the left, I just didn't want this Kang to be left out, so yeah, that's why I decided to add He Who Remains there. And yeah, I know he's technically dead, but you know, artistic freedom, I guess. Once that was complete, I then moved on to the background, which for that, I just added this image of these branch timelines from Loki, which I thought it was fitting since this movie was going to have Kang in it. I also experimented by adding this image of the end of time from Loki in the bottom as a cool detail. However, later on I would just replace that with He Who Remains Castle. Now, after some trial and error, we got something like this, which I mean I was pretty satisfied with, and well, from then on I started the real thing, which was blending everything together.
Fuck.
Now, if you watched my previous Avengers videos, you already know what this part consists of, but if you don't, it's pretty much just a lot of color correction, shadows, highlights, that kind of stuff. And yeah, it does take a tedious amount of time, but this part makes all the difference, and that's what we're all about. As for the actual process, I first started by blending in Kang's timeshare, which I just made it a bit darker, adjusted its color slightly to blue, and finally I added a ton of shadows and highlights. After that was done, I then moved on to the main characters, which I mean it was basically the same process again on repeat. Now, I really wish I had something to say here, but I don't, since as I said, it's literally the same process over and over again on all these characters, so yeah, it's just gonna be a speed art segment. Now halfway through the process, I got really bored of blending these characters, so I decided to move on into something more exciting, which was adding a bunch of effects and overlays around the poster. Now recently I've also just found out that Pinterest is a great way to find literally any effects or overlays that you want, so that's what I've been using throughout the entirety of this project. Now literally not even 5 minutes in and I went back and started the blending process again. This time however I actually moved on to the Kangs since I don't even know why. I just felt like doing them first and then continuing with the Avengers. And I know it's kind of funny because I didn't even finish blending the Avengers and I just moved on to another thing. Like I'm telling you, the workflow for this project was quite chaotic since I could never really do one thing at a time, but you just gotta bear with it, I guess. It was also this time that I just realized that I used the wrong image for Thor, and it's kinda funny because from the start I could tell there was something wrong with this picture of Thor, but I could never really tell what. And it took some time to realize that, but once I did, I made sure to fix that and replaced him with a better image of him. This is also where I decided to go back to these characters to finally finish the job and blend them all in. After that was complete, I then moved on into adding a bunch of more effects and overlays for like the millionth time now. It was mainly just light rays and nebula effects, that kind of stuff, but I'm not gonna lie, this really started improving the whole poster. This is also where I decided to add some stuff in the bottom of the poster since I just felt like it was way too empty in there and the title of the movie just didn't really feel like it belonged in there. So I added this castle of He Who Remains as a sort of silhouette and cool detail, and this also gave me a good idea and opportunity to make the whole bottom of the poster quite dark, so this way the title of the movie stands out more from the rest. Once that was complete, I then just realized I had left out the blending process on the Kangs unfinished, so I resumed that. And yeah, I feel like I'm repeating myself now, but it was the same process as with literally every other character. You know the drill, shadows, highlights, that kind of stuff, so let's just move on to the next thing. During this process, I also noticed that this image of Kang seemed similar to a scene from Quantumania where Kang drops down and starts blasting out his energy beams. So this is also why I decided to add some energy beams in his hands. This would also end up making Kang feel more menacing and intimidating since up until this point he doesn't really feel that way. And yeah, in the end this ended up being a great decision. I then also added a few planets around the poster and blended them in, and to be fair I had a hard time deciding if I should keep them or not, because unlike my Doomsday poster, this one actually looked quite decent even without the planets, but in the end I just decided to keep them. At this part I also realized that I literally forgot to add the most important and crucial character of the movie, which was probably going to be Loki and, well, Sylvie to some degree, so I made sure to include them too. I decided to add Loki all the way at the top and made him stand out from the rest of the characters, cause like I said, he would have probably been the center point of the movie and the most important character, since, I mean, he's the one who started this whole storyline with Kang in the first place, so yeah. From then on, it was pretty much the beginning of the end. This was the part where I had a whole lot of more effects, overlays and glows around these characters. And lastly, as usual, I added the camera raw filter, and well, here I present to you the Avengers the Kang Dynasty poster. Or well, what could have been. Now the same question always arises, is it better than my previous two Avengers posters? And to be fair, I don't really have an answer to that. Like when I put all of these three posters together and compare them to one another, I can't really pick a favorite. I mean, they're all unique in their own way, and that's what makes them special, I guess. Even though I've literally used most of the same images and assets for all of the three posters, they all still turned quite different from one another. Now, as a poster on its own, I'm really happy with the results and I really like it. But with all that being said, I guess this concludes this series where I make a fan poster for all of the three Avengers films. I mean, to be fair, I never really intended it to be a series, but since a lot of you guys wanted to see more of these, well, here we are. But anyway, if you guys have enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, share, comment and subscribe, and I guess I'll see you in the next one.